So about a week ago, I was watching football on Sunday, and a really interesting commercial came on. It happens to be for IBM, and it was about AI. And since that's all we're talking about kind of in the world these days, I paid attention. And
is that the Watson commercial?
No. So it's new. I think it's a newer commercial. But the gist of the commercial is it's two people walking down a hallway in an office. And the woman says to the man, hey, I love AI. And the man says, yeah, it's supposed to streamline our lives, right? And it's supposed to make our jobs easier, right? And the woman goes, well, that's what it's supposed to do. And then the guy goes, well, but isn't AI just something else that we have to manage? And doesn't that mean that it's more work for us? And so isn't that the opposite of streamlining? And the woman goes, yep. And that's the irony of it. And I thought it was very interesting that in the world that we live in, which is kind of all AI focused, people need to think about AI the right way, not just as like this magic pill that's going to fix everything for you. So I think it's really interesting for us to talk about in this episode some of the pitfalls of AI and how to overcome those pitfalls so that any business owner of a construction company can know what they need to be doing and how they need to be thinking about AI for it to be the tool that it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'd love to kind of jump into that with thinking about, what is AI, right? It's a tool, like we use a tool for everything else. It's a tool like we would use a tool like software, or a tool like we would use a screwdriver, right? It's something to make something else happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, in my mind, it's also like an assistant. So instead of perhaps delegating something like write me a letter to like a coordinator or an administrative assistant or somebody lower down on your project team, you have the AI do it because it's something that it's really good at. It's a tool.
Yeah.
But it's also, I treat it sometimes like another employee that I can give tasks to.
So that's a great segue. So that's exactly kind of where I was thinking about this. Yeah. If it's an employee, if it's an assistant, what do you have to do with an employee or assistant? You have to manage them. You have to train them, you have to train them, you have to manage them, you have to oversee them, you have to check their work.
Yes.
AI for me is a tool that has to be managed. And so I think thinking about this in the right way, I'll use your example. Something, you want it to write something for you. You don't just send that out.
No.
You have to read it. You have to check it. You have to maybe change the model. You have to polish it. And so
make sure it's accurate.
It's got to be accurate. It's got to be right for what you want.
The right tone, all those things.
Tone, style, punctuation, all those things. So the question is AI a tool to be managed, or is it a tool that you think is just supposed to work hands down, day one, to make your job easier?
Well, it's definitely not at the latter stage yet.
Yeah, right.
It is certainly still in its infancy as far as what it can do on its own. I find that it's a very quick learner, but it's not omniscient or anything like that yet. It doesn't know exactly what you want. It's still, it's a very advanced child.
And children take management, and teenagers take management, and some adults take management.
Development, and,
right?
The more you teach it, the better it gets. But it's not independent yet.
And so in that same vein of AI needs management, I think what's important for people to think about is how do you think about AI as something to be managed, right? How do you think about AI as something that you can train, teach, hover over?
Well, so in the last 12 months, when I've been talking to contractors, and I think you've probably had this same experience, most of them aren't using it or don't understand how to use it. We have contractors that have not seen it before. I've literally shown it to people for the first time, and just in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Construction company executives, owners, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't know it could do that." And I'm just showing them one little thing, like analyzing a spreadsheet and giving me some KPIs or spotting trends. helping me do some quick data analysis. They're like, I had no idea it could do that. I do all that stuff manually.
So that, again, a perfect segue into the next thing that I was thinking about this is that in order for AI to be valuable to a construction business owner or the construction business in itself, I think you have to know what you need it to do and how to make it innovate for your business. And those are some of the things that I think are really, or can be really interesting for us to talk about, which is sort of how do you make it work for what you need it to work for? If you need it to write for you, if you need it to build something for you, if you need it to do estimating takeoffs for you, those are things that you have to know in advance that you need it for. And then you actually go in and do the work behind it to actually make those things happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that can overcome one of these pitfalls is learning what it can and can't do, learning what you need to know how to train it and make it better, and then letting it do what you now trained it to do.
Yeah. I think some of it starts with learning what it's capable of. Like,
yeah,
it can do so much so well, and then also learning what it can't do very well or where it has struggles. We've both experienced ChatGPT making stuff up. Like, where did you get that from? I've had it analyze spreadsheets and give me incorrect data output, and I'm like, you forgot this, or what about this? And it's like, oh, you're right, I forgot, I left that out. Let me redo that. So double checking its work, but understanding what it's capable of doing. Because if you want to ask it to do something, you have to kind of know what you want the output to look like. So I like to find samples of things I've done before and show it like, this is what I created for on this other project. Now I'm going to give you new data, and I want you to create something that's similar with this data. So can you understand what I did here and then replicate it with this new data set, this new meeting summary, or this transcript if you wanted to write something like a meeting summary. Hey, I wrote a meeting summary. I've been writing meeting summaries for years. Here's samples of meeting summaries. And now here's a transcript of a meeting I had. Please write a summary and put it into the same format. That's kind of how you train it. And that's maybe a starting point.
Yeah. Here's another example of that. I was thinking this too. Financials are really important to most people who run businesses.
Yes.
And construction businesses are no different. Financials are really important. So AI can analyze financial data. But if you just drop, let's say, a P&L into your ChatGPT, or whatever you use, it's going to say, oh, I can't really read this, I don't understand, or it's going to give you inaccurate data. But if you teach it what kind of format of data it can read, then you have now taught it what it's going to do for you. And you now know on your side, well, then every time I load that data in, I need to load it in that way, in that format. Then it is going to work for you. And that's a way to innovate for your business. Teach it what you want it to do for you, not the other way around. And I think that's another thing to think of, right? It's a tool, like I said before, it's a tool to use. It's a tool like any other tool that does not work by itself.
Right, I would agree.
Yeah.
It is meant to, I'm using it to like enhance productivity or analyze big sets of data, like massive spreadsheets that would take me a couple of hours to sift through and do the math and find the trends. It can spot those in seconds if I've taught it what to look for. So giving it sample data, like here's I was doing this the other day, like here's 3 years worth of P&L data by month. I want you to spot trends in revenue fluctuations, give me the highs and the lows, spot those trends, repeating patterns. Hey, looks like every fall your revenue drops off and your costs are flatlined, or your costs don't go down in relation, so your profit shrinks in those months. Having it do things like that are very basic, but that's some of the basic kind of financial analysis we're talking about here.
Yeah, and it's not going to do it on its own, right? So that's
it doesn't know what you want.
One of the examples that I like to use is, cutting your grass. You can cut your grass in a couple of ways, but the easiest thing to use is a lawnmower. But the lawnmower, unless you're, very, very, very lucky and you've heard of something I've never heard of, you have to push the lawnmower, right? You have to push. So you walk behind it, you do a little bit of the work, and then the tool does the work for you. That's kind of how I feel about AI.
That's interesting.
We have to still do some work there. And I think one of the pitfalls that we can overcome by thinking that, AI is some magic pill is to understand that it's a tool for us to use, but we're important. We're important in the AI infrastructure, we as people.
We're integral.
We're integral, exactly.
It has no purpose without us.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
It's not self-aware yet. It's not Skynet.
It's not. Okay, perfect. So as I was thinking through the sort of thinking that AI can be a pitfall, I was wanting to make sure that we keep a positive spin on things, because I personally believe that it is a game changer for the entire world, including the construction sector. It's a game changer. And I think it's important to maybe talk through some of the ways that it can be positively used, keeping in mind that you have to do the training, do the work, push the lawnmower a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, what are some ways that we can help people think about things that AI can do for them with the right training and tools? You kind of brought up financial analysis. One of my examples was going to be estimating takeoffs. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that we hear from our clients a lot of times. Something that it can do that is, I don't want to say non-creative, but those are just facts, right? Looking at something and saying this X, X is X and Y is Y now. So what are some other kind of things that we can think through that AI can be a game changer for the sector? Or things that you've heard from some of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, the financial analysis is a big one, because I'm working with a client right now, and they have a monthly work in process, a WIP meeting, and they go through sometimes hundreds of active projects over the course of several days, and they're uploading all their projections and everything like that. Well, if you can dump that into a big spreadsheet, then the AI can do all the analysis and point out or find the projects that need the most attention.
Yep.
And kind of help you prioritize where you should be spending your time. These are the projects that have the most risk, or they're showing early signs of project fade, or cost overruns,
yep,
or schedule extensions, and having the AI kind of highlight that stuff for you helps you identify where to focus your time.
I think risk analysis is another huge, there's so much risk in what our clients do and what we do, and risk is just a part of life. But looking at something like, say, a contract, right? A legal document, sure, reading a legal document, looking ahead to a project that's, failing, trying to find a way to let the system identify risk for you, mm-hmm, but still keeping in mind that you have to do your part, right? You have to load in the right data. You have to look at it. You have to check in on it. You have to, verify it. So I think there's a huge upside that we probably haven't even seen yet, for what it can do for construction companies.
There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of companies that are developing their own special AI agents or software platforms to solve specific problems or pain points in the construction industry. We've talked to, we know softwares that can help do the purchasing, the invoice processing, as well as the field ticket match to make sure it's a three-way match, and then make sure that your invoice matches your purchase order and your delivery ticket for price, quantity, and everything was actually delivered, no back orders, things like that. That's a very specific one. There's ones that can do on-screen takeoff automatically now. They can do the counts and the linear takeoffs and all that kind of stuff, and dump that into your estimating software so you can run your pricing math on them. There's things out there now that are using drones to go scan job sites to measure progress and
safety
look for safety violations,
absolutely,
unsafe conditions. Like it's pervasive already, and we're just starting. It's just starting.
I've got a client right now. We were just with them, and we were talking about daily logs, mm-hmm, and we were talking about taking photos. In your daily log, pretty standard. They've implemented daily drones. They send a drone up 3 days a week. So it's not daily. 3 days a week, mm-hmm, they send a drone up, take full site photos, bring them back. And then I said, well, then what do you do with those? And they said, we just drop them in the daily logs. And I said, well, are you looking at them? And they're like, well, not really. And I said, well, would you ever consider using some kind of, AI, system to actually look at those photos and actually help you identify what the site sees daily changes? And they said, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. So I think that people are sort of partly there with what they're using it for, but that's where the human interaction becomes really important. You have to think ahead.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, they need to understand what it's capable of.
Right.
Then they can start going, well, if it can do that, then this is what I would like it to do with that skill set. Give me this type of an output.
Yeah.
Or reverse engineering. I would love to have this. Can the AI do that? I would love to have a financial snapshot emailed to me every Monday of all of my open projects by project manager. Can the AI do that? Well, if the data's there, we can, the AI is able to do that work, and then the automation of sending out an email is very easy. But understanding both what you wanted, what you would love to have, kind of, magic wand, what I'd love to have is X. Can the AI do that? Yes or no, or not yet?
Or not yet.
Or can it do part of that, and then you need a human to kind of take it across the finish line? All of that, and that's changing almost daily nowadays.
For sure. And I think where we kind of started the episode, where we're talking about how to maximize the value of what AI is. I think it's interesting to think about it this way, but AI is, I think you just said it, it's changing daily, if not hourly. I mean, it is fast. And I think maximizing the value of what you need it to do is that's the pitfall that I think people can overcome. They can be thinking ahead for what they would like it to do. It might not be that way today, might not even be that way next week, but in 6 months, it might be. Mm-hmm. And if you're kind of lagging behind AI, I think that's probably not a great place to be.
I think, I'll say this, I think other than maybe a select few of cutting edge AI developers, I think we're going to be playing catch up with AI for years, because it's going so fast that we don't even know what it can do now, much less what it's going to be able to do in 3 months. And I think it's going to be leading us down the path of how powerful it's getting. It's not us that's trying to push it. It's getting smarter faster than we realize.
And I think that's a great way to think about it, that could happen, and it probably will happen. But one of the things that I think is valuable for people to think of is, how can you become the master of AI?
At least in your business.
In your business, and not the other way around.
Right.
Think ahead, plan ahead, use the tool like you would any other tool. We talk a lot about software here, right? And you mentioned something earlier about software. I think I would think about software as an example here. Procore, really obvious. A lot of people use it. Excel and Procore are both tools, right?
Sure.
You can do a lot of what you can do in Procore in an Excel document. It takes longer. It's more manual,
sure,
prone for error. But then Procore comes along and says, all right, we're going to put all that into a system. Mm-hmm. So those are two tools that do relatively the same thing. That's how I like to think about AI. What is the next version of the tool that's going to help you run your construction business going to be? Think ahead, plan ahead, make sure you're kind of on the cutting edge of that, so that when it's ready for you, you're ready, is kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, what instantly came to mind was how long until it can build a real CPM schedule. Not like you give it the plans, give it the takeoffs, and then it knows how long it takes to build things, because it's got enough historical data from real project builds that it can build a realistic critical path schedule for a project, for like a large project, not a small one. And I think I don't think we're there yet, but I think that's probably within a year.
I think there's so many areas where we're going to be in a year or less. Another one that just came to mind when you said that, think about the ability to think ahead and have your AI alert you to a future potential safety issue. Mm-hmm. If your AI can tell you that someone is about to get hurt,
like high probability
of stepping in the hole.
They're in a ladder without being tied off, something like that.
And it took a photo of that, and it kind of alerts you. I mean, there's a million ways that it can go. And I think that to me is kind of where I wanted to kind of this to land.
Now you're reminding me of that Tom Cruise movie where the crime hadn't actually happened, but it was very likely about to happen, and they started Minority Report.
And they arrest people in advance, right?
We
want this to be a good thing. We want it to be stop someone from getting hurt, but so they don't ever get hurt in the first place. But I think for construction, there's so many ways for us to think about how to make AI be the tool that it is and will be, as opposed to being a slave to it. And that's kind of where I think the pitfalls are coming from. And that's kind of where that commercial was kind of leading, was don't make sure that make sure that your AI is not dragging you down is sort of the overarching kind of thought. Yeah.
I never thought about it as becoming a slave to your AI. I think about people who adopt it and leverage it and people who don't adopt it and get left behind.
I think both of those are problems, and I think they're both really important to think about. And as we continue to talk about AI, which we clearly will, I just don't think that we'll probably never run out of conversations that we can have about the best way to maximize AI.
At some point, we're just going to have AI sit here and be interviewed. And we'll be able to interview. We could interview our AI right now, one of the ones that we use. And
and see what it tells us.
See how it tells us. And that might be fun. We could turn on the chat feature with ChatGPT and have a conversation with it.
That would be interesting.
Maybe that's the next episode.
We'll do it.
Well, I think it's been. I think this is exactly kind of what I wanted to hear and talk about was, is AI a pitfall? How to maximize it as a tool? How do we think about it for our construction clients? How do our clients think about it? What's sort of your overarching thoughts on how to not let AI become a pitfall and how to maximize it for our construction clients?
Well, one would be start using it and learning how to use it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get left behind, and then you're out of business. Because at some point you're not going to be competitive without using it. Because everybody who's using
everyone
it
else
is going to be their quotes are going to be more accurate. They're going to be able to turn things around faster. They're going to spot things in advance. They're going to have better risk profiles. They're going to have lower accident rates. All the stuff we just talked about.
Yeah.
So they're going to be highly competitive, and if you're not part of that group, you're not going to be as competitive and you're not going to win as much work, if any. So one would be don't miss out.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of it. Just don't miss out.
Don't be scared of it. Yeah.
Two would be, I think, going back to what you said, as it being a tool, it has a time and a place and it has a use case. There are other times and things that you want to do or need to do in your company where it's not the solution. It's not suited for everything. So learning where to apply it and not trying to force it to do something that it's not ready to do or not meant to do.
Or that you haven't trained it to do, or that you haven't spent the time doing.
Or that you don't fully understand and you're hoping that the AI will make up your shortfall. I don't ask the AI to do anything that I can't do myself because I need to be able to double check its work. So don't lean on it like I don't have to learn how to do that because the AI will do it, because the AI can make mistakes. And if you don't like financial analysis and stuff, if you're not smart enough to check the AI's work, find somebody who is. So that's a way you could really, that's a problem, or could be a problem.
It could be a problem. People
leveraging it or relying on it to give it real trustable output when it's not meant to do that. There's a disclaimer on ChatGPT. It's like, it can make mistakes. Please double check all the work.
I would sum that up as to say, don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Is one of the ways that I would kind of put that, right?
Yeah. It makes mistakes all the time when I use it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that comes to mind is like, as we said, it's evolving rapidly.
Yeah.
Like what it can and can't do today is not going to be the same as what it can and can't do a week from now or a month from now, even. And definitely 6 months from now, it's going to look a lot more powerful and be able to do a lot more. So stay up with it as best you can.
I was going to say, stay tuned is what I was going to say.
It's not
stay
a static
tuned
system.
to AI.
It's not like Microsoft Word where every couple of years they roll out a new little button. This thing is changing and evolving and getting more and more powerful, as we sit here. So,
as expected, this has been a really interesting conversation. I knew it would be. And I would say thanks to all of our listeners who, tuned in to listen to this episode. If any of you out there would like to talk to us more about our AI experience, we'd love to talk to you about it. There's an endless array of conversations we can have.
For sure.
And I think that we're going to continue to talk about AI for the rest of our
lives.
For the rest of our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Greg. That was fun.
Thank you.
Check us out on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.